Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fabulous Michael and Patty Show. Today is our anniversary. I actually checked the statistics for the first time ever, and we actually have some subscribers, which is really nice. So today is our 26th anniversary here, coming to you live from the Charlottetown waterfront from our recording studio located right inside a half-ton pickup truck.
Hi, Michael. Yes, today's our 26th podcast that we put together.
Amazingly enough, considering the statistics say that the average podcast that starts new only lasts for 7 episodes. So that's great. It's super fun. Let's get on with today's subject, which is the pros and cons of living in PEI. And I've got at least 4 sheets. I know Patty's got a huge list, so we're going to try to cover them as quickly as possible. And this may actually turn into an extended session. Our usual podcasts are 15 minutes. We're thinking of extending this one to 16. Okay, so number one of my major pet peeves is there's really no direct flights or air routes out of PEI. Traveling anywhere seems to almost always give you a tour of the Toronto or the Montreal airport. So when you're traveling from PEI, expect at least 1 or 2 stops. The exception to that is we do have a great route going from PEI to Halifax, and then you catch the red eye into Europe the last time I checked. However, you probably want to book your flight about a year in advance.
Well, one of the pros, since you gave a con on that, would be during COVID, we were easily able to, for the most part, shut down our island and limit the traffic in that. I also see that it could be viewed as a pro. Should we ever end up with a world pandemic again?
And we won't.
Okay.
There is a direct flight to Ottawa through Porter now. I'll just add that as a pro.
Yes.
Education. PEI actually has one of the very few veterinarian colleges or universities. We've got UPEI, and we also have Holland College, which are both doing a great job. So that's the pro.
And a con to the education?
There isn't one. Our educational system's amazing.
It is amazing. Yes, it is. Actually, that is one of the things that when I was making my decision to relocate here from Ontario, I was looking at, for my children, as I have 4 kids, wanted to ensure that there was a great education system in place, secondary, and that was one of my big reasons to want to select Prince Edward Island because it had UPEI, which has got a great reputation.
Number 3, opportunities for entrepreneurs. When I moved here, I said over 25 years ago, as long as I had a fax machine and a telephone, I could make money. Well, today the economy is global, and not only can you make money from the internet, as most houses in PEI are on the path to having fiber op, as we've discussed in previous podcasts, but there is a lot of businesses that would do extremely well in PEI that would have little or no competition. So if you are good at something, chances are you'll do well in PEI because we don't have millions of people here to compete with. And that is everything from electricians to plumbers to home inspectors to whatever, right?
Yeah, so a con to that would be trying to find, if you're trying to establish a business here on Prince Edward Island, workers. We have a shortage of tradespeople in that. So a lot of business owners, that is one of their struggles here.
No, absolutely. And the other con would be there's a lot of travel. So even though we do have a populace of 175,000 people approximately, getting to those clients can take you some time because they're not all concentrated within 2 minutes of your home like they would be in some larger cities that I've lived in. Next, low crime rate, in my opinion. I would say overall the crime rate in PEI is extremely low. I think if anything where you're going to see higher crime would be in downtown Charlottetown.
I would agree.
So that would be your con. But overall, I mean, we don't have the stuff that's going on in other countries. Cost of living as far as housing, one of the main attractions to PEI is the cost of a house, with the average house costing, the average stereotypical house, according to the HPI, is about $360,000, and the average sale is probably around $450,000.
Average sales $415,000.
$415,000. So
For residential.
Buying a house here is fairly inexpensive. I guess the con to that would be if you're looking for something super high-end, you're probably not going to find it here unless you build it. Then when you go to sell it, there's not going to be much market for it.
Yeah, I would agree. Looking here, you're looking at more vinyl type homes in that. There are some that are higher end, but they're few and far between.
Right. So I'm going to skip to hard to find builders. Building a house can be a challenge. We don't have large companies that build 1,000 houses at a throw. So you're typically dealing with somebody in the local area where you're building, and some of them are booked out 2 to 3 years. That, getting back to opportunities for entrepreneurs, be an excellent business to get in here, providing you can find manpower. Next, low wages. Working for the federal, or I guess mainly the federal government, they're getting paid the same wages right across Canada, so that's looked at as a good income. But I would think, generally speaking, you're probably not going to be making the money you would be in Alberta.
Yes, yeah.
The pro to that would be, as an employer, you're paying out less in wages.
That makes sense.
Right? If you can find anybody.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Going into restaurants. If you like seafood, you're in the right place, because everywhere you go, it will be on the menu in infinitum, if not the majority of the items on the menu. So if you're someone like me that doesn't eat seafood, that becomes a con.
Yes.
Quick snow removal. I'll let you do that.
Quick snow removal. The infrastructure on the province, when we do have snowstorms, we watch other provinces and it can shut everything down. And it's not because the storm itself, but because everyone is on a mission to get that badge of honor to make it to work and drive through. And we've seen how many car pileups on the 401. Here on PEI, they have an excellent infrastructure. The crews are out there. The all-weather highway, which is Route 2, is the first highway they always keep clear for emergencies. And then they work from all the little arteries from there. I have no complaints. I'm very impressed.
And it's mainly the farmers you can thank as well, and the private snow removal companies. The private removal companies are right on top of things. So, usually you're going to hire a service. What's the con? There is no con.
Well, that'll lead us into the weather.
The weather? What about the weather?
There is a reputation that Prince Edward Island has really heavy winters.
And thank you, CBC, by the way. Anytime there's misery, negativity, a sad story, CBC will blow it out there across the country. But you'll never hear the positives. We had 200-year storms, and everybody for, 5 years, all we heard about is we're not going to move there because of the snow. Thank you, CBC.
Oh, my gosh. Yes, there was a lot of publicity on our 2 really heavy winters that we had on the island. I always say it's comparable. So I used to live in Alberta. I've lived in Ontario and then Prince Edward Island. I would say it's comparable to a winter basically in Ontario, but without all the humidity and ice storms that they get there.
Right. Next. PEI has lots of space. You can recognize this when you fly over it with an aircraft. It seems everywhere you go, there's nothing but emptiness, with, of course, the exception of the major centers. So if you like a lot of places to go to where you're not going to be inundated with people like downtown New York City, PEI is the place for you. Con? You're going to be lonely.
Feel a little bit, that's what I was just going to say. You might feel a little bit isolated and lonely, because you don't have all that energy and the congestion, perhaps.
We do not have a Costco. We do not have an IKEA. We do not have a keg. So the pro for that is you're going to save yourself some money. However, you can always travel to Moncton or Halifax, which will give you all of those amenities.
Yeah, it'll limit and control your spending because it has to be a planned trip, plus the bridge fee just to get off the island to go and try saving money. So at the end of the day, are we really saving money by traveling over to Costco, IKEA, or some of these bulk stores?
Well, if you did want to rent a truck and pick up 6,000 packs of toilet paper from Costco, you could certainly save some money in the long run. Lack of public transport. You are not going to find a bus coming along every 3.5 minutes like you would find in Toronto or Hamilton. So you do have to plan your travel a little bit more in advance. And when you're outside of Charlottetown, there really is no public transport. We've got the Irving Maritime bus routes, which get you all over the country in the Maritimes. And then we've got T3 in Charlottetown, which gets you the centers. But other than that,
there is a bus that they implemented in the last couple of years that travels from Summerside to Charlottetown.
Right. But you could also do that through Irving. I think that's through Irving, through Maritime Bus Lines or whatever they call it. Okay. Next, if you are from away, someone from away is someone that's not born here. So if you are from away, you'll always be from away.
Or CFA, come from away, is what we're referred to.
Right. Small town gossip. When you move to PEI, it's like moving to a small town. You may feel a little claustrophobic sometimes, especially if you're in the public spotlight and you're doing all kinds of business stuff in the newspapers and the media. Everyone is going to know who you are. So if that makes you feel uncomfortable, that may be a con. If you're a complete egotist, like some of the real estate agents, you'll just absolutely love your face plastered all over everything.
Yes, and so here on the island, we have to be very mindful of our reputation because like wildfire, if it's good, great. The whole island will know. If it's bad, that's not a good situation because the whole island will know.
Healthcare. I'll let you do this one.
Healthcare system. So the healthcare system, from a mother's standpoint with my children, I have always found it to be great. They prioritize, they triage. So when you go to the emerges, the children, they like to get in and out as quickly as possible. When it comes to needing specialty services, however, cardiologists, you will unfortunately have to travel off
dermatologists, any of the specialties, you're probably going to go off island. And there is a massive waiting list if you want a doctor of your own. And there seems to be no rhyme or reason as to where you fit into that top secret list. You'll see people lose a doctor and they'll get reassigned in 2 months, and then you'll see other people that have been on that list for 5 years that haven't seen a doctor. So I would say the PEI healthcare system, albeit people in the system are great and wonderful, the system itself is in the process of being fixed, and that's why they've replaced the CEO, and there's been a mix-up or a few dropouts in the board of directors.
It would be nice if they could at least provide some insight or information if you are registering yourself for the doctor's list, we'll call it, and say you could expect 3 years or 5 years.
This is like Bob. This is Bob all over again, right? I have a friend, Bob. He's in Florida. If you're listening, Bob, hello, we miss you. He manages properties, and whenever the tenants ask for anything, he tells them it's on the list. One day he tells me jokingly, he says, Mike, by the way, there is no list. And I think that's sort of what Patty's going after. If there's a list, let's see the list. Let's see where I'm on this alleged list.
And how long could we expect to wait? I agree.
IRAC.pe.ca, Island Regulatory Appeals Commission, is in the business of regulating everything from fuel, rent, property ownership that exceeds 165 feet of water frontage, 5 acres. What else do they do? All kinds of stuff. Check out their website. They're the regulation body. I guess the pro is we do have rent control. If you're a landlord, the con is we do have rent control. As far as them regulating fuel prices and that, I can't really get into that debate.
No, I wouldn't.
We won't.
Good idea.
Because the government's not going to control the cost of fuel. Inventory of houses is low. I looked at the numbers just yesterday or the day before. Statistically speaking, we have a low inventory of houses. Real estate, as we've discussed on previous podcasts, is cyclic, so that will pick up as the grass turns green and the decline towards Christmas. Rentals. There are very few rental properties here as far as apartments, and if you want one, you're probably going to pay a lot.
Yep. Lack of traffic. It is nice to be able to drive around the island and not have to deal with traffic jams. I had called a friend of mine one day. I was coming from Summerside to Charlottetown, and there was a tractor way up ahead. I couldn't see the tractor, but it was really backed up. It was my one time, I could say, on a rural route that I was in what we would call a traffic jam. And my friend in Ontario laughed at me because I was on the phone talking to her. And she said, try doing the 401. I would do your traffic jam any day. She said, what do you see? And I said, nothing but rolling hills and green fields, and it's absolutely beautiful. And she said, sign me up for your traffic jams.
What about farm tractors?
That's what was causing this, actually.
Right. So when they're taking the potatoes out of the fields or whatever their crop is or putting them in, that's when you're going to see the most traffic jams. But those are usually more restricted to routes that cater to more of the production fields like Kincora Road 225.
Yeah, we don't really there's a little bit of congestion. I would say the one area on the island that you will be dealing with with congestion and traffic issues is the Hillsborough Bridge that connects Charlottetown to Stratford. We have one bridge connecting, and when early morning hours, say around 8 a.m., from Stratford into Charlottetown, plan an extra 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes on your commute, because it's going to take a very long time to get into Charlottetown. And then you flip that around at between 4 and 5:30 at night. Expect a long commute home.
Electricity. Yes, we do have electricity on the island. It's supplied by the long extension cord we mentioned in the last podcast. And one of the things you may want to keep in mind is, since there is overground electrical wires everywhere, they do have a chance of the telephone poles blowing over or having some problems when we have major storms. So a generator is always probably the best money you could ever spend in PEI, ever. Is that it?
I would say that's a wrap. We've covered most of the items on there and tried to give a little bit of a viewpoint on both sides.
Okay. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe for more. And that's it for now.
Have a great day.